Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down my week number 3 defenses to stream for the 2024 fantasy football season, going in depth through 6 different defenses that I believe you guys should be looking to run directly to the waiver wire right now to pick up due to their ideal matchup for success in fantasy football for week number 3. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into the 6 defenses that you guys want to be picking up, streaming to dominate in week number 3 of the 2024 fantasy football season. We begin with the first defense to stream for week number 3 of the 2024 fantasy football season, and that is the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Carolina Panthers this week at home in Viva Las Vegas. The Raiders defense is rostered in 7% of leagues on Yahoo, 4.9% on NFL, and 4.1% on ESPN. So the Raiders defense is going to be widely available for you guys to snag. As you guys know, the game plan in these defense to stream videos, one of the biggest game plans is just streaming up against the Carolina Panthers. That offense is absolutely bottom of the barrel. Bryce Young looks like a child that is scared behind the offensive line. It is honestly hard to watch. Bryce Young and that offense cannot get it up there, in dire need of a Viagra, and I don't think Dave Canales, the quarterback whisperer, has the answers there for them. I expect the Raiders defense to run a train on the Carolina Panthers. I expect Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins to form an Eiffel Tower over that Carolina Panthers offense. And the Raiders defense, while I think any person that is a sane person, not an absolutely crazy person, would have told you that starting the Raiders going up against the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore last week would be crazy. I would have told you that. But the Raiders defense had a solid game. They won the game 26-23, flushing everyone's survivor pick down the toilet. Basically, everyone picked the Ravens as their survivor pick. They almost beat the Chiefs. If Isaiah Likely had a slightly smaller big toe, then, ooh, look at that, they would have beat the Chiefs. And then, of course, the Raiders absolutely slap them up in this game. Now, I guess slapping them up Will Smith style would be a bit of an exaggeration, but the Raiders had 2 sacks, 1 INT, 23 points allowed. They win that game 26-23. The Chargers just played the Panthers in Carolina, and it is kind of hard how to put into words just how bad the Panthers are. The offense is starving for production. The offense is down astronomical, and they're down for the count, right? And they're not going to be able to get up, right? It's not going to be like Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder, where magically Fury wakes up, right? I would be shocked if this Panthers offense was anything outside of a disaster for the rest of the season. The Panthers offense, I know, Nick, it's been 2 weeks. Don't write off Bryce Young's career. I'm still not ready to just say Bryce Young is a complete and utter bust. But what I've seen so far in his NFL career, what I've seen so far with Canales and the Panthers, again, I get that it's weak. It's just been 2 games, but they suck. They just don't play good. So streaming defenses against them is going to be a staple of these videos going forward. The Raiders defense also has a great schedule moving forward. It is beautiful, like Margot Robbie in Wolf of Wall Street. Week 3, they play the Panthers this week. Then they play the Browns, which I guess isn't technically the greatest matchup, but we know how Deshaun Watson gets. If Max Crosby gets all up in his grill, he might struggle in that one. Then they go up against the Denver Broncos in Denver. Bo Nix looks no bueno as of right now. And then they go up against either Mr. Unlimited Russell Wilson or Justin Fields in week 6 at home in Las Vegas up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Chargers defense demolished the Carolina Panthers last week. They win 26-3, 2 sacks, 1 INT, 3 points allowed. I think the Raiders have a chance to shut out the Panthers this week. The Panthers have no answers for anything that any defense brings them, so I fully expect that the Raiders end up with one of the best defenses on the week. Next up, we move to the Chicago Bears, going up against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. Now, the Bears defense is not widely available. 54% rostered on Yahoo, 84.7% on NFL, but 35.4% on ESPN. So if you are playing in a league where they are available, I believe they are the second best defense, and it is very interesting to see the roster percentage difference from Yahoo, NFL, and ESPN. It's crazy on NFL, 84.7% owned, basically 85% owned compared to ESPN with just 35.4%. So the Bears defense up against the Houston Texans, week number 2 on Sunday Night Football. They lose 13-19, but the defense has 3 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and 19 points allowed. So the Chicago Bears defense back-to-back weeks, Michael Jordan 96-97. They look great up against the Titans, and they look solid up against the Houston Texans. Now, they did beat the Tennessee Titans back in week 1, 24-17, off of the back of the defense and special teams. Caleb Williams basically got a participation trophy in that game. 3 sacks, 2 INTs for the defense/special teams, 1 fumble recovery, not 1, but 2 touchdowns, and 17 points allowed. Now, the Indianapolis Colts offense, any given game can be a firework show. And what I mean by that is Anthony Richardson can just turn things to a whole nother level. He could break the defense like a fucking baseball bat. You ever seen a guy get mad in baseball and they just crack the bat on their knee? That's what Anthony Richardson can do to the defense. But he can also get sacked a bunch of times, doing a bunch of crazy things, trying to fucking do some 360 twirls like he's a ballerina, Valentina Shevchenko, running out there trying to do all these crazy things. And that's kind of what we saw up against the Packers last week, where the Packers eat that W 16-10, 1 sack, 3 INTs, and just 10 points allowed. Now, I do believe that the Bears defense is a little bit risky because I could see Anthony Richardson going out there and like One Punch Man absolutely fucking knocking the Bears back, right? Absolutely having this 50 Shades of Grey dominant performance. But with how the Bears defense has looked thus far, this will probably end up being a more tame game out of the Colts offense. So the Chicago Bears defense is definitely my clear number 2 defense to stream on the week. Now, the Bears play the Rams next week in Chicago, and based upon Cooper Kupp's health, I do actually think, since the Bears defense has been so solid, they are interesting in that matchup. No Puka Nacua, potentially no Cooper Kupp, throw into a bunch of CFL wide receivers. Matthew Stafford got lit up like a Christmas tree by the Arizona Cardinals last week. After that game, they play the Panthers, which obviously is a wet dream matchup. We're going to be salivating about that if we can stream them in that game. And then they play Jacksonville all at home. And we know that the Jaguars haven't looked the best offensively. Now, again, that is kind of far down the road, so the Jacksonville Jaguars may have figured it out by then. But at the very least, that Rams matchup might be very positive, as would be the Carolina Panthers matchup for the Bears defense. Next up, we move to the Green Bay Packers, the Cheeseheads, going up against the Tennessee Titans, the Les Titans in Tennessee. 16% rostered on Yahoo, 7.1% on NFL, and 5.7% on ESPN for the Packers defense. The Packers defense week 2 up against the Colts. They win 16-10, 1 sack, 3 INTs, 10 points allowed, just like we talked about previously with the Bears defense due to that matchup up against the Colts. Now, another staple of these videos is just going to be streaming up against Will Levis. Will Levis is basically like Josh Allen, but with way more of the bat. You remember early career Josh Allen, where he would make the craziest fucking play you've ever seen. I'm talking about threading the ball through 4 defenders, fitting it through a fucking keyhole. It's a dime, and then boom, they're on like the 10-yard line, and the next play, the guy's running around behind the offensive line like a chicken with his head cut off, and he tries to do like a 360 no-scope like he's in phase off the top of Rust in Modern Warfare 2, and he fucking throws the ball backwards, and it goes to 4 defenders, 5 defenders, right? or he makes this crazy play and then he just throws the ball blatantly to the other team, right? Reading the defense like how Floyd Mayweather would read a page of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which we all know he can't do. So it was absolutely embarrassing at points, but, Josh Allen has developed past that this season, especially. He has completely shook off. He has shed the interception problem, the turn of the ball over problem that he had. But Will Levis is, again, he's like Josh Allen, but the mini version, and just not as good. So Will Levis has been just throwing crazy interceptions. He's been doing a lot of stupid things, taking sacks left and right like he's at a glory hole. And I don't really expect things to get much better here. Now, the Packers don't have a world-beating defense, but they're good enough to absolutely suffocate the Titans' offensive passing attack. The Jets' defense, 4 sacks, 1 INT, 1 fumble recovery, 17 points allowed up against the Titans in Tennessee. They win 24-17. Again, I'm not going to sit here and compare the Jets' defense versus the defense of the Packers because it's night and day, but when you're playing up against the Tennessee Titans, they can make even the worst defense look great because of Will Levis's ability to just do stupid things all game long. The Packers will go toe-to-toe with Mono Man Sam Darnold in week 4 at home in Lambeau. So you could keep them, but I'm going to be honest, I think this Vikings offense might actually be nice with it. Mono Man Sam's looking good, but it's definitely in the balance still, right? We still don't really know. Hey, it's up in the air. It's a toss-up because what if Justin Jefferson is severely hurt, even though it doesn't seem like he is? Same thing with Jordan Addison. We kind of just have to see and wait before I plant my flag on the Packers defense. Next up, we move to defense number 4. If you guys have enjoyed today's video thus far, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. Tennessee Titans versus the Green Bay Packers. So we're just flipping it 69 style reversal. 1% rostered on Yahoo, 1.2% on NFL, and 1.2% on ESPN. The Titans defense, week 2 versus the Jets. They lose 17-24. They sacked Aaron Rodgers twice, but they had 24 points allowed. This is just more of the philosophy of let's stream against Malik Willis. Now, Malik Willis gets the win up against the Packers up against the Colts at home in Green Bay. But it's not because Malik Willis went out there and was shining. It's not because Malik Willis went out there and made a lot of crazy plays. It was just because the game plan of the Packers was incredibly conservative. Malik Willis, don't fuck anything up, and we can win the game. And I said that was probably going to be the game plan going into last week, and that is exactly what they did, and they ended up winning the game 16-10. But it wasn't because of this crazy offensive firepower, boom, boom, firepower that that Malik Willis has. It's really just because he didn't mess anything up. He didn't make any errant mistakes, and Malik Willis can make those mistakes, and I also just don't expect this game to be very high scoring at all, which could lead to the Titans defense being very solid. Now, the Titans defense goes to Miami, 305 Dale in week 4, and depending on how the Fins look without Tua in week 3, and depending on Tua's availability for week number 4, the Titans could be a fine defense, but the Titans defense so far this season hasn't looked amazing. But I do think they are a little bit underrated. That also could just be because Caleb Williams sucks donkey Dak, and that is why the Titans defense looks so good back in week number 1. So while the Titans defense on paper, I'm not going to sit here and pretend they're one of the best defenses in the NFL, streaming up against Malik Willis, I think, is a solid plan, at least as of right now. And I would be shocked, like that painting where the guy's face is like that, or like, what's the kid's name? The guy in Home Alone, the kid, Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone. Next up, we move to defense number 5. We got 6 defenses this week. The Seattle Seahawks going up against the Miami Dolphins, what could have been the Hawk-Tua matchup. Sadly, it is Hawk-Skyler matchup. Seahawks versus Dolphins. 41% rostered on Yahoo for the Seahawks, 26.6% on NFL, 53.6% on ESPN. So Seahawks defense has looked pretty solid. Now, they're not the Legion of boom, shout out the Costco guys, but they still look good. Seattle defense week 2 up against the Patriots in Foxborough, 23-20. They win that game in overtime, 3 sacks, 20 points allowed. Bills defense week number 2 up against the Dolphins in Miami, 31-10. And before Tua got a concussion, now I'm a Dolphins fan. I love Tua Tagovailoa. He's my quarterback. He's my guy. I hope whatever decision he makes, which appears to be he's coming back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend. Eventually, once he's good to go, that's great for him. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. He's a grown man. I'm not going to sit here and belittle the guy. He was seeing ghosts in that game. He looked like trash. He did not look good in that game. That was, without a doubt, one of the worst games I've ever seen Tua Tagovailoa play. The Bills' defense, talked about it all season so far. They did this big reshuffling. Their defense is banged up, and yet the defense legitimately had Tua in shambles in that game. The defense wins 31-10, 2 sacks, 3 INTs, 1 touchdown, 10 points allowed. Now I know, Nick, the Seahawks aren't playing against Tua, they're playing against Skyler. Skyler is not good. As a Dolphins fan, I want to hope that Skyler goes out there. This offense with all the firepower of Tyreek, Devon Achane, Jalen Waddle, Jonnu Smith, potentially Raheem Mostert, if not Jalen Wright, Jeff Wilson Jr., my name Jeff, they go out there, and that's such a cringe joke in the year of 2024, but it just came to my head, so I said it. The Seahawks defense, or the Dolphins offense, on paper, I should be able to run the offense, right? Mike McDaniel, this guru, this, that, and the other thing, boy genius. When Skyler was under center in 2022, it made me want to stab my eyes out as a Dolphins fan. It was incredibly hard to watch. So, while everything inside of me wants the Miami Dolphins to go out there, kick the door down, kick the teeth in, fucking Michael Strahan style, leave a gap in between the teeth of the Seahawks defense, I expect the Seahawks defense to fucking devour the Dolphins, and it is going to be sad to watch. I hope the Dolphins have some fight in them. I'm really worried about this game as a Dolphins fan, and I think the Seahawks defense, who has looked good now in back-to-back weeks, are certainly worthy of looking at to stream. Now, Seattle will go to Detroit next week, and even with Goff throwing the ball directly to the Buccaneers defense, he thought the Buccaneers defense was one of his wide receivers last week. If you start the Seahawks defense up against the Lions, I think you are a little bit crazy. Even with the Lions offense starting off the season not looking the hottest. Before we move on into the final defense to stream of today's video, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends and our sponsor over at Underdog Fantasy. Now, if you're new to Underdog Fantasy and sign up using code Notorious or by clicking on the link in the video description, you'll be able to claim your free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Now, the free pick for tonight up against the Atlanta Falcons is Jalen Hurts higher than half of a total yard. You match that with a player on the Falcons or one of the games on next week's slate, and if both of the picks hit, you'll receive 3 times your entry fee. Now, if you increase that to 3, 4, 5 picks, the payout would obviously increase. Now, if you're watching this on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe you're watching it on Sunday before week number 3, you can go ahead and do the exact same thing. You sign up with promo code Notorious to get a free pick, but it will just be something different than Jalen Hurts higher than half of a total yard. So make sure you guys check that out. Promo code Notorious to get that special pick, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Final defense to stream on the week is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the Denver Broncos at home in Raymond James Stadium. Now, the Buccaneers defense is not good. They are not good Anthony Fantano style. That would be their ranking. They're no bueno. 5% rostered on Yahoo, 39.4% on NFL, 3.1% on ESPN. But the reason why we are going to play them is not because I think the Buccaneers are the 85 Bears, because I think the Buccaneers are going to magically figure things out and become one of the most fearsome defensive units in the National Football League. The reason why I like the Buccaneers is because they're going up against Bo Nix. Sean Payton, Bo Nix, they're not cooking. And if they were cooking, the fucking kitchen is on fire. Mayday. Wee woo, the fire department is coming. It is trash. The Broncos offense is so bad. It is anemic. It is hard to watch. Now, again, the Buccaneers defense has a lot of holes. They got 2 interceptions up against Goff, mainly because Goff literally looked terrible. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, the Buccaneers defense is crazy. It was because Jared Goff was making all these types of terrible decisions. But they still got 2 picks. 2 picks, 16 points allowed. They win 22-16. Steelers defense destroyed the Broncos. The Broncos had no chance to do anything in that game. They almost shut out the Broncos. The Steelers win 13-6. Steelers have 2 sacks, 2 INTs, 6 points allowed. The Steelers are up here. They're out of the screen in terms of rankings. My hand can't even go up that high of how tall the camera is, right? Whereas the Buccaneers defense is down, sitting on my lap like I'm Santa Claus here. But doesn't matter, because even if the Buccaneers defense isn't great, which I strongly believe, streaming up against Bo Nix is a great recipe. It is a recipe for great success. Shout out Borat. Now, the Buccaneers will play the Eagles in week 4, and as long as the Buccaneers are playing a team that isn't straight up cheeks, shout out Violent Myers, like the Denver Broncos, you're not going to play them. So they're going up against the Eagles. I don't care if the Falcons make the Eagles look like a pee-wee football team tonight. There's no way I would be playing the Buccaneers defense up against the Eagles at home in Tampa in week 4. So run clear away from them after this game up against Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. So thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think about today's defenses that I discussed. And are there any defenses that I should have brought up? There were some other defenses that have great matchups, but frankly, while I included the Bears, who do have a relatively high rostership ownership percentage, there were teams with even higher percentages that I just felt like I shouldn't even talk about them, because at least with the Bears, 35% on ESPN, 54% on Yahoo. There's a chance you could get them if you're not playing on NFL. So thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. I love you guys so much. Again, please make sure you guys do check out Underdog Fantasy. Promo code Notorious to get that free pick like Jalen Hurts, higher than half of a total yard. Promo code Notorious, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. I love you guys all so much. Happy Monday. Hope the game tonight is good. We'll be back later with the week number 3 waiver wire video. I hope you guys have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, good boy.